what is a risk taker entrepreneur?
Usually, in my head, I've got like barriers on earnings.
To be fair, what I would say within business is it's a calculated risk.
It's not natural to us because if you're a one-trick pony, you can never develop it.
I don't see it as taking that much of a high risk if you're good at what you do. If you're not good at what you do, you need to learn to be better. I'm not going to do a high risk for a low reward. Risk taker entrepreneur. So I'm joined with Karl Hudson. So what is a risk taker entrepreneur?
This is an aspect of the business that I struggle with and often prefer to team up with someone who is more of a risk taker, like yourself, because it's not natural to us. And I know a lot of people struggle with risks, especially, I think, personal opinion here, is if you've come from a background which is a little bit tougher upbringing. Obviously, my parents worked their ass off and they were like both sort of life coaches and things like that, but they did that through the whole not a tree movement and pivoting throughout the lives. But then that ended up getting us into quite a good place. But because we started, like our origin story was, you know, the typical council house sort of upbringing, I do struggle with risk. Usually in my head, I've got like barriers on earnings. So in the sense that I earn X, right, I'm comfortable now. And then I'll be a little bit more open to take a risk because I know I'm comfortable there. Whereas obviously with yourself, it's very much like you're a good gambler. You enjoy a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, to be fair, what I would say within business is it's a calculated risk. So I'm very, very good with my numbers. I will take risks if I feel it's high reward. So high risk has got to be high reward. I'm not going to do a high risk for a low reward. So there's times I'll take little, small, incremental kind of steps within business, and I think that's good. But then there's times if I get presented with an opportunity and it is high risk, but it's high reward, and I think, well, what's the upside of this? Then I think only 1 in 10 of these needs to work out. And I'm working out the numbers and I'm at a 40 to 60% success rate. I'm like, well, I'm obviously going to do it. So everything is calculated. But yeah, a risk taker entrepreneur, generally speaking, are the ones that long-term become the most successful. I've had to work on it myself. Do you know what I mean? I haven't come from a wealth of background, like a load of money. Like I'm not had that passed down inheritance and stuff. I've had to work really hard on it. And there's times where you can work really hard for a year and then you don't want to then risk that £1 million, £200, whatever it is that the opportunity presents you with, that you go, I'm not certain whether I can take that risk. And I suppose the more and more you get into business and you see the failures of what happens, and then you look at what's the worst case of what can happen. Some people think that you're going to go and take a risk in a business and like it's going to be all or nothing. There's not. It might just take a little bit longer than what you thought. So instead of that repayment plan being 4 years, it might be 6 years or 7 years. But that's still better than real estate. Like, so when I'm looking at real estate, which is generally speaking in the UK around 13 years repayment plan, and that's if you paid it off completely and you've no interest to pay when you're buying any property. Within SEO, it's 2, 3, 4 years. Do you know what I mean? And not only that, it's if you're good at SEO, you can obviously build upon that. So for me, like a risk taker entrepreneur in digital assets, I don't see it as taking that much of a high risk if you're good at what you do. If you're not good at what you do, you need to learn to be better. And then you probably actually need to be employed and probably need to be an entrepreneur and working for someone that will take those risks and they can work alongside him in making certain that they're going, okay, I can see it. And once they keep seeing an investment working out and being profitable, there's so many times that it keeps going well. Then they start going, hold on a minute, I thought it was a risk, but actually it's not risk. And that's where, like if you look at pension pot investments with regards to SEO, it used to be in that very high risk category. Then it went into the high risk category and now it's in the medium risk category. Because actually they're starting to realise that actually there's lots of sites that have been there for a long time and remain there. Don't get me wrong, like there's lots of sites that have been hit with helpful content update and been hit very hard. But a lot of big brands and magazines and stuff, they've been around for 10, 15 years and a lot of those aren't being hit. And the pension pots aren't touching the smaller niche sites. They're going after the bigger ones, generally speaking.
I would say also skill stacking is like a fundamental that most risk take entrepreneurs get pretty good at, because for instance, I know you're very good at stacking skills, i.e. you don't have to understand, you don't have to be the top 1%. Yeah. What you end up doing is you learn a little bit, so you know enough, and then guess what? You've now stacked that skill onto your infantry of skills. However, what a lot of people do is they just stick to the one trick pony. They almost become. Then that inherently becomes a problem, because if you're a one trick pony, you can never develop. It ties in with the whole you're not a tree sort of theory and all of that. Is if you're skill stacking, you're then capable of hiring someone who is better than you at that skill, because you understand it a little bit. Yeah. Whereas if you don't understand it, it's very, very hard to hire someone to take over.
But that's where, as well, with regards to a risk-taker entrepreneur, they've got to be choosing the right business partners, not just staff and trying to employ people that are more intelligent than in what they're weak at, but also making certain that the business partner complements each other. Yeah. So it's pointless having two people that are loud and sales and that's it, sales, when the other person needs to be that little bit more reserved and going, we need these processes put in place. We need to make certain that if we are taking this risk and we're buying this website or this business or whatever, commercial property, whatever it is you're looking to invest into, is someone going to be able to pick up the pieces and go, okay, now I can implement this and I can improve upon this. I can make cost savings. It's not just about growth. Yeah. It's about lowering the amount of expenses that's coming along as well. So a risk-taker entrepreneur needs to be intelligent enough to understand what they're weak at, and then either employ what they're weak at or set up a business partner of what they're weak at as well.
Yeah.
So I hope you liked the video about a risk-taker entrepreneur. If there's anything that we've missed, leave a comment in the comment section.